Welcome into the first ever episode of the Startup Guys. My name is Zach Walker. I am the co-founder of Unicorn, joined today by the one and the only Chris Ciccone, who is our head of business development, probably one of many titles he currently holds. But welcome in, Chris. How are you today, bud?
Doing well, Zach. I'm doing well. I'm excited for our little topic today. It's a big one.
Yeah, I think it really is the genesis in a lot of ways of what Unicorn stands for, what we were created to do. Essentially, when we first started this, we were thinking through the concept of founder-led sales and how there's all these incredible startups that under an old environment had the opportunity to just raise a bunch of money on a great idea. Whereas now the funding environment is definitely much different for startups. Revenue is an incredibly important part of that fundraising recipe. And in order to get there, you have to learn how to sell as a founder. It's one of the biggest challenges that any founder faces, especially those technical founders that maybe don't come from a sales background or aren't as experienced in that arena. And then all of a sudden, it's all on you, right? Like it's all on you. So today we're going to talk about the challenges in founder-led sales. What makes it so hard? What the outcomes you're hoping for are? How should you go about it? How should you not go about it? Like what's the balance point? So, Chris, when you think about founder-led sales, you've been an early stage hire multiple times. We work with a ton of different founders. Like for you, understanding that balance between I'm a seller and I'm a builder, right? Like I as a founder have to do both. Like talk me through that, right? Like how does that impact the business?
I mean, first of all, it's such a dichotomy, right? Because you have the aspect of, hey, founder-led sales is critical right now. It is so important because to your point, you can't just show up and get money thrown at you. So you've got to figure that out. But then you have a whole business you need to take care of, right? A lot of times there's a product that needs to be built, there's development that needs to be done, there's customer success that needs to happen. And you're wearing all of these hats, but sales needs to be front and center. And nobody is going to be as good at selling your product as you will be as a founder, because in these early stage organizations you need to be able to paint that picture of what this future is going to look like. What is the vision of the organization? You're carrying all this energy and this passion that no sales hire will ever be able to match. So founder-led sales is really hard. Founder-led sales is really important. And founder-led sales is really, there's nobody better to do it. So you've got to juggle these things while building a company, continuing to scale and figuring out like, hey, how do I do this? How do I get in front of people? How do I sell to them? How do I price this? How do I negotiate? How do I get them to sign? How do I make sure that they renew and stay on long term? How do I turn that into referrals? How do I turn that into reviews, right? And what I see with a lot of founders is they're good at a few aspects of that, but not all of them, right? They can go get the clients, but how do I upsell them afterwards? How do I renew them afterwards? Or they're great at the customer success, but that new business piece ends up they struggle with a little bit. So there are so many steps there that they need to figure out in that process while building a product, while building out a company. So a lot of balls in the air there that they're trying to juggle all at the same time.
Yeah, and it's not as if it's not hard enough already, right? And so, oftentimes we find ourselves talking about this concept of these first 10 customers, right? Like you've got to go get your first 10. Oftentimes I see one of the biggest mistakes that founders are making in that founder-led sales process, like they don't know they have product market fit yet. Like they haven't even found that, right? And because this is their baby and there's an emotional attachment, and certainly we can talk about what I call ugly baby syndrome here in a little bit, but you've got this like dichotomy of I've got to get the first 10, but I also don't know that I have product market fit. And so what to you are the keys of like ensuring that, first of all, I actually do have product market fit, and then I can worry about like really going and pushing and scaling sales. But like I have to find that first. So what are those keys?
Oh, that is a loaded question, Zach, because a lot of times from a founder-led sales perspective, step one is let me go to my network, let me go to my friends, let me go to the people I've worked with in the past, right? Let me make those easier sales. I want the low hanging fruit. And that's awesome because that is going to generate you some revenue. That is going to extend your runway. The problem is, to your point, that doesn't mean you have product market fit. That means you've got a good group of people who are there to support you, which is amazing. But until you are ready to truly go fully cold outbound and try and bring in whoever your target ICP is and the proper personas, until you're ready to bring those folks in, and that is when you're truly going to find product market fit. So, can you go get people who don't necessarily know you or know your product or know what you're doing? Can you go get them and make them pay real dollars to go get on board and buy your product? Because that's the other thing we'll see, right? I need those first 10 customers. Let me give this away for free.
Mm.
That's not giving you a lot of information, right? That's just giving the product away. And it's great. You're going to get users on there. You'll get some feedback. That is valuable, but those are not your customers. That is not product market fit that you're determining at that point.
Yeah, you made a great point that I think it would be we'd be foolish to pass over, right? And that is, let's start at the beginning. I'm a founder. I'm about to go sell this thing, and you've got this huge network, right? And if you're not, as a founder who's in that founder-led motion, if you're not leveraging the value of those networks and actively building those key connections, right? You're not I mean, you should be a part of every startup group, every free program, every accelerator you can get. I mean, literally, you want to connect yourself to as many founders as you can, because odds are those networks are going to have crossover. You're going to be able to, but like, that is the process for those first few sales. Like, you have to be able to leverage that before you just go cold outbound.
Absolutely. And again, like, I don't want to tell people not to go leverage their network and not to go engage with other folks and get those easy sales. That is great. But again, that is not necessarily an indication of product market fit. I
Mm.
think the biggest indication there is when you can make that flip from, I'm going to talk about my product and my company because I love it and I'm passionate about it, versus understanding, hey, I'm actually solving a problem and I know how to uncover that pain point and I know how to solve that. I think that for me is the biggest thing around product market fit. And you don't have to figure that out yourself. Sometimes it can be those customers that you sold to in the early days. Maybe you did do a lot of telling as opposed to asking
Mm.
questions and understanding where they're at. But they've come back and went, hey, Zach, this is awesome. I used to have to do things like this, and now I can do them this way. And you're like, oh, wait, there's a little asterisk there. I can use that, right? And that's how I'm going to start selling going forward. And I think once you can take that and now you can make it repeatable, like, we're not at the point of scaling yet. That'll come next, but we can make that repeatable. And it's not just, hey, I solved this one person's problem, but this is a problem in this industry, in this space, in this, for this persona, whatever the case may be. Like, that's when you're starting to teeter on that edge of product market fit.
You know, that's so interesting. You know, you were talking about in there discovering pain. And I think that it's this, look, this isn't just a founder led sales challenge right now. Founders don't save the emails, right? But like, that concept of selling feature over solving for pain, like that feature led selling problem as a founder, you are so emotionally invested. You just built this incredible product. You're super proud of it. You love everything about it. It is your baby. Sometimes babies are ugly, right? And if you're being honest with yourself, look, I've got the cutest son in the world. You see him on LinkedIn all the time. Like, he's a very sharp looking young kid. Well, when he was born, I also thought he was very cute. And looking back at pictures now as a grown person, I'm like, you know, maybe he was just cute because he was mine, right? Like, that's not taking away from babies or parents anywhere. So again, save the email. But you have this, like, this baby is perfect. Okay, founders, it's not perfect. The features aren't perfect. Nothing about it's perfect because you aren't really sure the pain you're solving. You have a problem that your hypothesis at the beginning of this process said, hey, this is a real problem in the marketplace. I can solve this. I can create a product. I can carve out a niche, right? Okay, great. So we know the problem is there, but the nuance of the problem is going to dictate the features of the product. And you don't know the nuances until you dive in to that initial discovery process, right? And so many founders run on this, they run on this feature-led selling campaign, and it's worse for them because it's theirs again, right? It's that back to that baby again. But like, you've got to build a founder-led sales motion around the discovery process, because you're going to unlock everything you need to truly guarantee that product market fit. Because product market fit, how does that happen? That happens by making sure that your solution lines up really well with a problem that your customers are having, and you have the value price-wise to solve that problem, create an ROI. Now you have a product, right? So that's how that whole product market fit thing works. And the terrible discovery processes that are out there are killing the founder-led sales motion.
And I think, and we talked a little bit about this at the beginning of the episode around the current economical situation we are in, right? Where whatever 3 years ago, you could just show up and come up with a great idea and people will throw money at you. And then you could start your company and do all that great stuff. And the thing is, not only could they throw money at you, but you would then go to companies to sell your product, and companies' money was cheap. So they would go, yeah, this is a nice to have, but I'll throw money at it, right? And so not only were you seeing these companies succeed in the past, but you were seeing salespeople, I'm sorry, but it's true, get really lazy. I don't have to do good discovery. I don't have to find a problem. I have to find a company that wants to spend money. And there was a lot of them out there. So people would go out, they would sell features and go, look how great this is. Let's go. You need it for your team, right? Because you're hiring 47 BDRs and 1,000 AEs. You need to make their life easy. Go buy my product. And they were spending money on that. Now things have changed. Proper discovery is really critical. Coming up with an idea is not going to get you funded. But the thing is, from a founder perspective, and not all founders are like this. Some of them really show up wanting to solve a problem, but some of them also just show up with like a really good idea. And that idea needs to be iterated on to make that flip to actually solve a problem. The idea could be good. To your point, not perfect. The baby can be, maybe not hideous, but like not quite where they need to be.
I didn't say hideous. I just
I
said
know,
not
I
as
know.
cute as I remembered when I gazed upon my baby when it was born. That's all.
Of course, of course. But there are iterations, there are steps to
Yeah.
get there. And that's why, to your point, right? Get in front of people, get with people, network, meet, like interview prospects that you think would be in your space. You don't have to sell them anything. Just ask them like, hey, does this make sense? Can you take a couple minutes to take a peek at this? And that's where the network can be really helpful. And that's where the connections can be really helpful, because you can spend time just understanding, where does this fit in? And instead of putting it out there and failing and tripping over yourself a bunch, you could iterate on that and clean it up and present it really nicely in a way that it solves a problem and provides value.
Yeah.
And that helps all those other pieces fall into place.
Yeah, I think something you said there again, super interesting. When Unicorn was born as Rev Rocket, it was Chris and I, and it was a totally founder-led sales motion. Now, granted, we're both sales professionals. We sell sales. And so it's a little bit different, a little bit, not much, but it's a little bit different, right? But ultimately, like you mentioned the conversations, and when we started, we just started talking to people. We just started actively networking and actively talking to people. It was hey, how have you been doing? What's been going on? Connecting with old coworkers, speed dating your network, right? That's what it was. And in a lot of ways, like as a seller, we undervalue a regular connection, like just a connecting, hey, let's get caught up. Let's find out how's your mama and them, as we'd say in Alabama. Like you're just figuring out how everybody's doing. And in that, you're going to have an opportunity to talk about what you're doing. They're going to talk about what they're doing. It's not a pitch. You're not there to sell anybody anything. You're just making your network aware. Hey, this is the problem I'm solving. This is what I'm doing. Would love to chat with anybody in your network that you think this problem would, this could solve a problem for. And from that, multiple conversations were created that ended up becoming customers that are still now customers to this day, all from just a conversation that was non-sales whatsoever. And as a founder specifically, all salespeople should be embracing this method for sure. But as a founder specifically, like this is your opportunity to show off that baby, right? Like this is, so playing back into that analogy, like when I had my son, I wanted everybody to see him. Like I post a picture on Facebook. You know what I'm saying? Like this is my son. Like I'm pumped about this. I'm just as excited. Well, that's not my wife. We'll see this and shoot me. I'm almost as excited about Unicorn and what we're doing as I was when I was bringing up my kid. It's a very similar, the analogy works at every level. And that same level of wanting to show it off, yes, absolutely, but do it productively. Have conversations with people in spaces that are relevant, in areas and jobs and titles that you're looking to talk to. Everything should be about learning, gaining an understanding, and solving a problem even better, right? And connecting with those that you need to connect with. And I think that just goes, I mean, look, it's coming back, right? LinkedIn obviously is blowing up. It's the greatest place to build a brand. I get all that. But like the social selling piece is coming back, but it's still not being used the way it should be, in my opinion, in a lot of ways.
Well, you have this challenge where, and like salespeople see this all the time, right? Where it's like, well, yeah, go build a network, build relationships. Also, you have a quota to hit and you have a limited time to do it. So like make sure you're selling stuff. And like that's the weird balance you have where like if I spend time chatting with these folks, am I going to get enough value out of that conversation to help me drive business? And the answer is probably yes. Now, take that to a founder who is possibly pre-revenue and is currently making $0 and is living off of their savings or going into debt or whatever's going on. Or worse, they've got a VC backing them now who's like, hey, is that a sales conversation you're having? Are you closing business? Are you driving revenue? No, then what are you doing to move the dollar value forward? And I think that's always the issue we've run into is we are used to, in a lot of ways, kind of expecting this. I don't want to call it transactional because it's more complex than that, but I'm going to go sell stuff, which means I'm going to make a bunch of calls, I'm going to send a bunch of emails, and like magic's going to happen and somehow I'll sell stuff. But we're in this scenario where like networks are more important, social selling is so much more important. But stepping away from the founder piece for a second, if you're a salesperson, you're spending a bunch of time on LinkedIn, like you have employers who are specifically against that. They don't want you building a brand. They don't want you networking. They don't want you doing those things. They just want you closing business, and they think it's a transactional effort when it's not. So that goes back to the whole founder piece. Like you have to surround yourself with the right people. You have to surround yourself with people who can help you get in front of the right folks. And you also have to, when you are surrounding yourself with people, you have to be open to taking feedback. And I think that is going back to, again, this analogy about babies being ugly. Like, Zach, if I go to your house and I meet your newborn child, like there's no chance I'm showing up to your door being like, that kid is ugly, right? However, if I walk in and you're like, oh yeah, kid's got a little bit of a big dome on him, and you're like, yeah, okay. If you initiate that and say
Yeah.
like, hey, I know my kid's
I
not
know it's
perfect,
got
I'm a
some
lot more,
warts. Yeah.
yeah, I'm a lot more comfortable coming in saying like, hey, maybe you're right. So I think that's something important for founders to be open to doing, is saying like, hey, my product, my company, my whatever isn't perfect. I would
Yeah.
love your feedback, because you do have those founders who have their baby and they will not allow anybody to besmirch that company or that product. So you're sitting there going like, hey, this might be better if you go this direction. And they come back with like, absolutely not. We're not going to do that. And like, we
And
talked to a lot of founders.
those might be the ones that don't make it very long. I mean, did I say that? But yeah, I mean, you've got to be willing to like be honest and pivot. I mean, how many times have we pivoted, right? Like we thought we had it right. We were doing pretty good things. And then like you read your success, you read your failure, you learn from it all, and then you move on. And so, yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, the topic of founder-led sales is not a one video thing. And so this is my ask to you, the audience. What is this? Is this a topic you want to hear more on? And forgive me for a little monologue here, but I come from the talk radio background. So I'm used to the conversational back and forth interview style kind of content. I'm also aware that this content needs to provide real value to you. And so I would love to understand in the comment section. You can DM, email, text, whatever. Our content or our contact info is everywhere. But let us know like what the type of content you want to see from this channel is. Is it the interview style, conversational back and forth? Like that's great. We love that. Or is it like, hey, these are some tips to founder-led selling, right? And it could be both, and that's totally okay too. We want this to be what you guys want. And so as we conclude this video, like that's my ask to you, my network. Like, let us know what you think the most valuable form of content would be on this, the style. Do you want it? How do you want it? We'll make that happen. We'll probably do both if we're being honest, because you're not going to take away the conversational from both of us. That's just our nature, but we certainly want it to be what you guys want. So for this episode, don't forget, like, subscribe, click the little bell thing. Isn't that what you're supposed to say if you're a YouTuber, Chris?
I don't think it's a video, like a YouTube video, unless you say those specific things.
You got to like,
subscribe.
Smash that subscribe button. That's what my son says to me. He'll be like, smash that subscribe button, Dad. I'm like, all right, you're eight, son.
I mean, you can smash it. You can give it a high
Whatever
five.
you gotta do.
You can caress it. I couldn't care less, as long as you give it a little tickle.
And head over there to LinkedIn. Follow both Chris and I. Follow Startup Guys over there. Follow Unicorn. A lot of great content coming out of our team. Looking forward to bringing some of the team on here, introducing them to you, getting some more much smarter people than me on this show. I'm just here for the looks, and so I've done that well today. I hope you all have a wonderful day. We'll see you soon. Talk next time.